The Old West, a land of legend, lawlessness, and vast untamed landscapes, captured the imagination of generations with tales of violence, mystery, and intrigue. During the 19th century frontier days, life was unpredictable, and records were often incomplete, leaving many events shrouded in myth. Among these stories is the unsolved murder of the infamous Bandit Queen, Belle Starr. Belle Starr, widely known as the Bandit Queen, gained notoriety as an outlaw during the 1870s and 1880s. While her reputation as a criminal mastermind is somewhat romanticized, she was indeed involved in horse theft, stagecoach robberies, and other illicit activities. Starr defied the societal norms of her time, becoming one of the few women in the male-dominated world of crime. Her associations with well-known outlaws like Jim Reed, Cole Younger, and her second husband, Sam Starr, further cemented her legendary status. On February 3, 1889, Starr met a violent and mysterious end. While riding along a rural road near Eufaula, Oklahoma, she was shot in the back with a shotgun. Accounts of her death varied widely, with some exaggerations claiming she was shot over 60 times, although historical evidence suggests only 2 shotgun blasts struck her. The crime remains unsolved, with multiple theories about the perpetrator. One theory implicated her former lover, Jim July, whose relationship with Starr was tumultuous and occasionally violent. Another theory pointed to a neighbor, Watson, with whom Starr reportedly had ongoing disputes. Despite these leads, no definitive evidence ever emerged, leaving the murder of Belle Starr an enduring mystery of the Wild West. Despite several leads and even a trial against her neighbor Watson, which ultimately proved inconclusive, the murder of Belle Starr remains unsolved. Her untimely death cast a dark shadow over the region and left behind a haunting question: who killed the Bandit Queen of the Wild West? The disappearance of Etta Place's life remains one of the Wild West's greatest enigmas, tied closely to 2 of its most infamous outlaws, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Known primarily as the companion of the Sundance Kid, Etta joined the duo on their exploits across the American West and later, South America. However, details about her identity and origins remain elusive. Even the Pinkerton Detective Agency, renowned for its investigative prowess, struggled to uncover substantial information about her. Descriptions of Etta were vague, noting her attractive appearance and brown hair, but her background and true name were never confirmed. Many historians believe Etta accompanied Butch and Sundance to South America, where the 2 men were reportedly killed in a Bolivian standoff in 1908. Yet, credible reports suggest Etta was seen in San Francisco as late as 1909, raising questions about her later years. The last known sighting of her involved an attempt to obtain documents certifying Sundance's death, but the effort was unsuccessful. After that, Etta Place vanished, leaving her true fate and identity one of the Wild West's most enduring mysteries. The Servant Girl Annihilator, America's first serial killer? While the term serial killer is often associated with the late 20th century, America's first documented serial killer may have operated decades earlier. Known as the Servant Girl Annihilator, this unknown assailant terrorized Austin, Texas, in the 1880s. The killer is believed to have murdered at least 8 victims, most of them young servant women of African American or mixed heritage. The brutal attacks involved bludgeoning and stabbing, often carried out in the victims' homes during the night. Despite the widespread panic and numerous theories, including suspicions of a connection to London's Jack the Ripper, the identity of the Servant Girl Annihilator was never discovered. The case remains unsolved, making it a grim precursor to the serial killings that would dominate headlines in later decades. The Servant Girl Annihilator, a reign of terror in 1880s Austin from 1885 to 1886, Austin, Texas, was gripped by fear as an unidentified killer, later dubbed the Servant Girl Annihilator, embarked on a brutal murder spree. Over 2 years, 8 women, most of them African American domestic workers, were violently murdered. The attacks were gruesome, with victims often found severely mutilated, their bodies left in horrifying scenes. The violence escalated in December 1885 with the killing of Molly Smith, whose mutilated body marked the shift to more lethal attacks. As the murders continued, panic swept through the city. On Christmas Eve of that year, the killer claimed two more victims, Sue Hancock and Eula Phillips, both white women, further intensifying the public's alarm. In February 1886, police shot and killed Nathan Elgin while he was assaulting a barmaid. Though Elgin was never conclusively tied to the Annihilator murders, his death coincided with the abrupt end of the killing spree. Whether Elgin was the true culprit or the real killer vanished into the night remains an enduring mystery, leaving a dark and unsolved chapter in Austin's history. The legend of Bigfoot, a cryptid rooted in frontier lore. Bigfoot, one of the most enduring cryptids, is often considered a modern mystery, but its origins trace back centuries to Native American legends. Tribes of the Pacific Northwest told stories of Sasquatch, or Hairy Man, a towering ape-like creature with human-like intelligence and an overpowering stench. By the 19th century, settler accounts began to surface. Frontier newspapers featured reports of a wild man roaming the forests, and explorers like George Gibbs documented Native American tales of the creature as early as 1865. While some dismissed these stories as folklore, sightings continued to grow. By the early 20th century, reports of a bipedal, hairy giant spread across Oregon, Washington, and beyond, often described as lurking in America's dense forests. Although Bigfoot's existence remains unproven, its legend is firmly woven into the history of the American frontier, blending cultural lore with modern mystery. The ghost of Kate Arnold and the Sheridan Inn. When the Sheridan Inn opened in 1893 in Sheridan, Wyoming, it quickly gained fame as a frontier luxury hotel, boasting one of the first electric lighting systems in the West. In 1894, Buffalo Bill Cody, famed showman and Wild West icon, purchased the inn, further elevating its prominence. In 1901, the inn hired Catherine Miss Kate Arnold, a devoted clerk who worked tirelessly in various roles, from seamstress to babysitter, for over 6 decades. Arnold became a beloved fixture of the Sheridan Inn, fiercely dedicated to its preservation. When the inn faced demolition in 1965, Kate spearheaded efforts to save it, ensuring its survival as a relic of the Old West. Kate passed away in 1968, her ashes interred per her request in her beloved room 306. Guests staying in the room today often report unusual occurrences, from unexplained noises to the sensation of her presence, leading many to believe that Kate's spirit remains tied to the place she fought so hard to protect. Her story endures as a testament to love, dedication, and the lasting impact of the human spirit. The lost treasure of Blackjack Ketchum. Tom Blackjack Ketchum was a notorious outlaw whose criminal exploits spread fear across New Mexico and Arizona. Like many outlaws of his time, he was rumored to have hidden a cache of stolen riches in the Chiricahua Mountains of Arizona. According to legend, Ketchum buried thousands of dollars in a remote cave later nicknamed Room 44 by treasure hunters. Another tale describes Ketchum tying a bag of money to himself and hiding in a tree for days to evade a posse. Ketchum was eventually captured and executed in 1901, becoming infamous as the only person hanged in New Mexico for train robbery. Despite his death, the location of his hidden fortune remains a mystery. For over a century, treasure hunters have searched the Chiricahua Mountains, but Blackjack Ketchum's ill-gotten gains have never been found, leaving one of the Old West's most tantalizing mysteries unsolved. The Cabin at Crater Lake. A haunting search for gold in 1853, James and Henry Wilson, two brothers from a gold prospecting group, ventured deep into the Oregon wilderness near Jacksonville. Discovering gold in a secluded valley, they built a cabin and began hoarding their findings, burying them beneath the floorboards. However, their fortune came at a cost. Native American tribes defending their rightful land attacked the camp, killing Henry. James narrowly escaped with his life. Years later, James's cousin, Ted Harper, attempted to recover the treasure using directions James gave on his deathbed. Harper and a companion found the abandoned cabin and Henry's remains. Tragically, Harper died in a freak accident before claiming the gold. Subsequent attempts to locate the treasure failed, but the search led to the discovery of Crater Lake, now the deepest lake in America. To this day, the gold is believed to remain hidden in the Oregon wilderness, a somber reminder of greed and tragedy. The grisly deaths of Mae Prescott and her husband in 1916, Flagstaff, Arizona, was rocked by the gruesome murders of Mae Prescott, a prominent madam, and her husband Fred. Both were found dead in their bedroom, Fred's throat slashed so deeply he was nearly decapitated, and their bodies riddled with gunshot wounds. The room had been set ablaze in an apparent attempt to destroy evidence. While a note at the scene suggested a murder-suicide, investigators doubted Fred could have inflicted such wounds on himself. Mae's connections to the local underworld presented numerous suspects and motives, ranging from jealousy to organized crime. Despite an extensive investigation, no definitive answers were found. The case remains one of Arizona's most chilling unsolved mysteries. The mysterious duel of Al Schlesinger in 1876, Colorado Springs witnessed the bizarre death of Alfred Schlesinger, an assistant to businessman William Jackson Palmer. Schlesinger had written several letters to Dr. S.E. Sally, expressing fear for his life and referencing an upcoming duel. When Schlesinger disappeared, a search party discovered his body, shot through the heart, with a pistol lying nearby. A line drawn in the sand suggested a duel had taken place. Despite the ominous letters, the identity of Schlesinger's opponent was never discovered. His death, widely reported at the time, lacked evidence or suspects, leaving it one of Colorado's strangest unsolved mysteries. The vanishing of Pearl Hart. The last stagecoach robber Pearl Hart, a Canadian woman, gained notoriety as one of the last stagecoach robbers in the United States. After escaping an abusive marriage, Hart joined forces with Joe Boot, a petty criminal, and the duo embarked on a crime spree across Arizona. In 1898, they committed a stagecoach robbery, with Hart famously dressing in men's clothing during the heist. The pair was quickly apprehended, and Hart's boldness made her a national sensation. Released from prison in 1902, Hart attempted to stage a one-woman show recounting her outlaw life, but her public appearances were short-lived. After her final arrest in 1904, she vanished from historical records. Some claim she changed her name and lived quietly, while others suggest she moved to Canada. Her ultimate fate remains unknown, cementing her place as one of the Wild West's enduring enigmas. Some accounts suggest that Pearl Hart attempted to stage a one-woman show recounting her life as an outlaw, but her public appearances were short-lived. After her final arrest in 1904, definitive records of her existence vanish. Reports speculate that she may have lived quietly under an assumed name, possibly in Canada or the American Midwest. However, her later life and death remain a mystery, cementing her status as one of the most enigmatic figures of the Old West. These unsolved mysteries, spanning legendary outlaws, hidden treasures, and ghostly apparitions, offer just a glimpse into the intrigue and danger that define the American West. While the answers to many of these questions may remain forever lost, their stories continue to captivate the imagination, ensuring that the spirit of the Wild West endures for generations to come.